My mission in life is, first of all, follow God and Jesus without diverging. Second is get healthy and have healthy habits. So, for instance, if something is wrong with my body, you go to the doctor and you're honest with them. But you also got to make sure your doctor is listening and understanding you. That second part doesn't seem like they want to. Having healthy habits, like working hard, helping others, not judging, holding back anger and reusing that anger in positive ways, using outlets like music and TV or being with nature as positive outlooks or positive coping skills. There's a lot you can do. And I try to pass this on to as many people as I can since I've had to be so mentally strong about what happened to me. Especially as people around me try to tell me I'm fantasizing. Well, the pictures don't lie. You can tell me that I fantasize skin and bone on my body, but I know better. I remember looking in the mirror. I remember going to the doctors. You can call it a fantasy that I got a handful of meds and then I had a horrible, horrible experience and my body changed. But I know better. When I close my eyes, I remember that handout in a kitchen with a table. I remember going around the corner or being in like a hallway. There was a hallway that went down. I remember there being a kitchen where I used to sit and take meds. I have those memories. The kitchen part of it, that's when my mother used to brag to her friends. There was a heavyset lady that used to come over. I think it was one of her nursing buddies. And my mother almost seemed proud that I was on medication. And I used to take the medication dry. And her friends said that could burn my esophagus, taking my medication dry. Meanwhile, my mother said, it's no concern. He does it all the time. He takes all, and then her friend goes, that's a lot of medications though to take dry. That's quite a bit. And again, my mother didn't seem too concerned, and I was fine taking it dry until I actually burned my throat one time. Then I didn't like it anymore. I have these clear memories. They aren't fantasies, and I have pictures, and I mean, I've had teachers talk to me about it. I've had doctors wonder and question me about it. I've had even people say there's more to your PTSD than just New Mexico. It's very obvious that you have some more to this. And it is. I was just a lot to unpack and a lot I didn't understand. This is a very unique type of abuse, something that children do not understand. I was also smacked around a lot too, and anytime I tried to speak up and get help, things got worse. So, yeah. But I hope I'm able to help other people move on by me being mentally strong and moving on from this. Like, I am now just seeking help with my body, and I forgive my mother for it. I forgive my father for it. But they need to stop coming into fantasy land. That's the only thing I ask. You need to stop being in fantasy land. This started at age 5 with a medal that I won being turned into an attachment disorder. With me playing action figures and I need schizophrenic medication. With me being in New Mexico before attachment disorder. My mother always had this need to make a mental illness out of me. It started with a mistake she made. And you can't tell me that that's a fantasy. I've seen the results of it. I was there. It still hurts today. I sucked on my skin. I bit myself because my skin felt differently. All kids do that to feel their body. But me, I knew something was different. All kids walk or touch or they're learning their body. Everybody learns their body from age 1 on. But me, I had a change. I had a big change. And this is fucked up that I had to learn how to navigate this change without doctors' help. And hopefully one day I will get some medical care for it. But for now, I'm still not receiving any real proper medical care for what happened to me. But luckily, I'm able to help others with the mental part of it, because it takes a lot of strength to mentally move past a mother doing these things to you and having the memories I have and having family members belittle you, call it a fantasy, call it, I mean, it makes it much harder when people try to do that. And it's only out of their own ignorance that they do it. You know, they've been told, oh no, he's a drug addict. Oh no, he's psycho. Oh no, he's a drug addict. And they've seen the results at the end too. They've seen that child on drugs. They've seen him all drugged up on Thorazine and then be hyper and eat a whole pizza and then run around and then jump in a pool and then jump out and get cut up, not realize it, play tennis barefoot. They've seen all that craziness. But how does a child play tennis barefoot? What would cause that? Why would I be able to do that? Well, what person could play barefoot? Somebody who can't feel all their nerves. When somebody eats a whole pizza after taking medication, who does that? Somebody who has an appetite gain from a medication. Who acts depressed and drools on themselves and then all of a sudden is hyper and all over the place? A person who's naturally hyper and on depressants. What child goes to a birthday party and looks depressed, or not a birthday party, an adoption party, and looks depressed? One that's on medication that's making him tired. What type of child looks skin and bone for many, 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 many years, and it almost looks like an eating deficiency or some type of anorexic behavior? An abused kid with PTSD. There's a lot of children who go through traumatic stuff, and they usually lose weight very quickly. Now, right from the get-go in an orphanage, I'm being held down and given a double dose of just 2 pills. Then my mother accidentally slips me a pill, and I get so scared. I am so, fucked up in the body, and I never get my body back. Then there's my mother giving me extra medication, extra Epicac as a punishment. I don't mind giving a child Epicac back then if it's a measured dose, but the extra part of it and the bragging and the mental illness part of it, I mean, that's completely mental. Any parent or mother who thinks it's okay to give extra medication as a reinforcement for behavior, don't do it. You could cause permanent damage to your child, like my mother did to me. And then that's going to be traumatic for your child. If you do cause permanent damage and he can feel it, he's not going to know how to deal with it, just like I did it. So you got to keep that in mind. You got all these things going on, and the person does not know how to navigate this. And if the other party, like the mother, is acting more and more unstable, then it gets harder and harder to deal with. Like, for instance, I got a super headache on the floor, a super migraine. I didn't know why at the time, but it's from medications. I was on a lot of medications that on the paperwork says suicidal thoughts, depression, headaches, a lot of that stuff. And multiple medications I was on have those side effects, like Thorazine, Trazodone, Seroquel, Zyprexa, Remeron, what was making my nipples have milk out of it, what my nephew saw and was reported to my sister-in-law. There's all these different medications, Lamictal, and they have bad side effects that match exactly what I was going through, but it's up to the parents to read those medication lists and report it to the doctor, just like it says. It says, if your child is experiencing these symptoms, report it to a physician right away. Not a psychiatrist, a physician. Yet my mother doubled up my medication whenever I reported it to her. That's not good. And this is why I cannot get medical care today. Don't forget also, she died under suspicious circumstances. Her liver failed. She was drinking alcohol. She was popping my Vicodin. Remember the headache thing I was talking about? I was prescribed Vicodin for that. I was rushed. My parents brought me to the ER because I'm on the floor screaming for help. I'm on the floor screaming for help. After I screamed there for, 15 minutes, eventually they bring me to the ER. What I do got to admit, after I screamed for a while, half the time I was brought to the ER. When I was screaming in pain from the fireworks, I was not brought to a doctor. I wasn't brought to the doctor for that whole year. But anyways, that was in Maine when they were vacationing. For me, now we're in Chelmsford and I'm brought to the ER. They can't figure out what's wrong with me. They have a medication list, so they should know. But my mother's telling them it's nothing to do with medications. So they give me Vicodin. I go home, they give me Vicodin, and I catch my mother popping them. My father tells me it's only one time. Don't worry about it. Shut up. It's none of your business. We're adults. We'll do what we want. Yeah, but I have something medically wrong with me that needs to be looked at. I don't care what you pop, but I need you guys to act like adults and help your son. But that never happened. Instead, her liver failed. She came home with 20% of her liver, and once again, I had to act like an adult. She's trying to drink alcohol. You just got home with 20% of your liver. You got a yellow tint to you. How can my father be allowing this behavior? Because he's scared and he doesn't know what to do. So I go over there and tell him what to do. He doesn't do it, so I leave. This is so ridiculous. I'm a child. Well, at this time, I'm 19, but before, or I'm 18 or whatever. But before that, I was a child going through this. My whole life. My whole life, I had a mother like this. I had a distant father who let my mother go out of control. And I would really just like some medical care, please. That's all. I just want to be a normal person, not an animal. I've been treated like a dog my whole life. I would just like some medical care. I am not psycho. I do not have all these mental illnesses my mother put on file. It took me a while to get through all this. But it'd be nice if I could live a normal life. And that wouldn't be hard. All I need is some paperwork. I just need people to start actually treating this seriously as a physical illness, and then I can get better. I've already lived 25 years with this. If I get a little bit of medical treatment, there can be a good turnaround. And I probably just have a kidney infection right now, and the GI might be permanent. Could be cancer from the medications. It could be steel shards from the medications. I got a bunch of notes that say that the pharmaceutical companies might have accidentally poisoned me. I also took Renadine, which also might cause cancer in the GI region. There's a bunch of things that could be causing my GI. And I have a list and papers going back years to prove this. I mean, I have a paper right now on me that clearly states that my Renadine, one of my medications, my other ones, might have had steel shards in it. I also have another letter that says I was on Renadine prescription and over the counter, and that can be reproduced at any pharmacy that I picked up my Renadine at, and this was right during the recall of Renadine. Now, I doubt that that's the cause of my GI, but it could be. But until I can even just walk into a doctor office and actually tell them about it, because this is what happens. I go into a doctor. I tell them about the problems I'm having that are physical problems. They chalk it all up to crazy talk, mental illness, try to tell me to go take some pills and drugs. I don't need that. I need to know what's wrong with me, guys. After 25 years, I think I deserve that. I took it. I took the abuse. What more do you guys want from me? I mean, does anybody think that this is wrong? Because this is going up there. Everybody's getting a copy of this in every state. I'm not going to die and just take it. No.